Hello, and welcome to Let's Play Nioh, Episode 8, Spider Nest Castle. Before we get onto the main mission, we're going to be helping out Kobayakawa Hideaki again. Someone has stolen a sword. Again. What is it with people and stealing swords? We arrive here to fight a bunch of pirates who supposedly stolen the sword. But as we go on with the level, we soon discover there are yokai about, and ninja. This level introduces cannons as something that can be fired. You want to watch out for them. Also, time to fight the ninja yokai who is behind it all.
石田か徳川かなどまっことくだらぬ。世が道家型となりかき回してやろうかの。千年先まで世の悪名が響こうが構わぬ。このくだらぬ乱世を壊したいのじゃ。安心とやらそのきっかけを作るやもしれぬの。
石田方も西国の調略を進めておるようだが、分があるのは吉川、小早川を調略したこちら。ウィリアム、大阪は華やかな町。お主にぜひ見せたいと思っておった。帝のおわす今日にも近い。ついに大阪で家康様にお目通りが叶うぞ。面を上げ。
霊が見え怪を切るというのはまことか。君子怪力乱心を語らずじゃ。花からそのようなことを口にする者に真を受けようか。
This one has absolutely no power. I Hanzo, do you seriously follow this pretentious little prick?
何を言うておる。
鳥居殿、その者は影武者だと言うておりまする。
こやつはもっと名護を話しておったであろう。それに半蔵、そこもとが事前に話しておったのではないか。何がおかしいんじゃ。
まあまあ鳥居殿、半蔵殿の推挙もあることですし、全く口頭無形と切って捨てるもいかがなものかと。拙者に一思案があり申す。
So those two that we were just introduced to are Tori Motodata and I never remember how to pronounce his name, Ii Naomasa? I used to pronounce it as Lee, but it's actually two I's, not an L and an I. They're both very important samurai that serve under Tokugawa. And of course Tokugawa's duplicate, his doppelganger, who William perceived to be fake because he did not have a guardian spirit, like we assumed the real Tokugawa must. We're doing this last submission before going on to deal with the Spider Nest Castle. Here is the Ogress, the crying woman. I don't know if this enemy type is called an Ogress or not. I know there's another enemy that is referred to as the Ogress, though, so it gets a bit confusing. When she attacks you, she can cause you to slow down, which makes fighting her very frustrating. But that's her dealt with. See how slowly I was moving right there? Now, Spider Nest Castle is actually Shigisan Castle. This castle was very famous for being used by Matsunaga Hisahide for his rebellions against Nobunaga. Originally, he was a member of the Miyoshi clan. He betrayed his masters, killed one of them, supposedly. That's one of his three main sins, his three main marks against him, to mark him as one of the most villainous people of the time. The second was, in his betrayal, he took parts of the Miyoshi clan and took over the palace of Nioh and burned down the town and killed the shogun, Shogun Ashikage Yoshiteru. Now, Ashikage Yoshiteru put on a brilliant fight according to all of the stories, that he took down all of the swords he collected and just stabbed them downwards into the tatami mats. And when fighting, he would wait for his blade to get dulled and then toss it aside and just pick up one of the other ones and start killing everyone attacking him. Allegedly, they had to create shields out of the tatami mats and slowly move towards him in large groups to finally take him down. That was also when his lover committed suicide, unfortunately, upon seeing that Yoshiteru had fallen. Afterwards, Matsunaga Hisahide, he burned the statue of Buddha that was there as his final sin, his final or third sin, that would mark him as a villain of the period. His story does not end there, though. Now, after all of that destruction he caused, he held the palace, and during that took on the young shogun as a figurehead, so that he would be a puppet shogun for Matsunaga Hisahide to control. However, Yoshiteru's brother, Yoshiaki, was reaching out to various daimyo in hopes of aid in dealing with the villain that is Matsunaga Hisahide. He reached out to various daimyo. The Asakura were the first ones to answer, but they couldn't really help him out. Finally, he turned to Oda Nobunaga, and Oda Nobunaga began his famous march to the capital, finishing what Imagawa Yoshimoto started so long ago in his march towards the capital that led to his defeat at the hands of Oda Nobunaga. So Oda Nobunaga marched on the capital and managed to capture it and defeat it all in his way. Matsunaga Hisahide was defeated, and rather than being killed by Oda Nobunaga for his transgressions, he was actually taken on as a retainer. This angered Ashikaga Yoshiaki quite a deal. It was one of the steps that led to him forming the anti-Nobunaga coalition in secret. He did that with the aid of the Azai, of the Hononji, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and the Asakura. That coalition eventually failed, and Nobunaga retook the capital. But during these times, Matsunaga Hisahide served underneath Nobunaga. He rebelled a few times using Shigisan Castle. During the final rebellion, it was known as one of the greatest sieges of Japan, with the overwhelming forces of Oda Nobunaga completely destroying Matsunaga Hisahide's. Rather than dying at the hands of Oda Nobunaga, Matsunaga Hisahide decided to blow himself up on top of the castle. Now, I'm not sure how true this is, so take it with a grain of salt. Supposedly, his son, after he had blown himself up, took his head and jumped off the castle with it to deny it to anyone that would take it. And that is where the story of Matsunaga Hisahide finally ends. But back to Nioh. We're here in Shigisan Castle, fighting spiders, getting our way through. Whenever you see webbing on the ground, it slows your movement quite a deal. The spiders are able to fire out webs that also slow you down. You want to try to avoid them at all costs. They're otherwise not too deadly of enemies. The deadliest thing the spiders can do is cling to the ceilings. If they drop down on you, they land on you and do a grapple attack that just shreds you apart and will often kill you in one shot. Something that I've upgraded myself with underneath the skills is the kick at the end of combos. It's really good at destroying the ki of enemies. That way you can get a critical hit in on them. Also, I apologize for my voice today. It's a little bit hoarse. Although we won't be seeing horses in this game for quite some time. This level is another one that has a lot of different areas you can go into and a lot of little secrets. I'll be showing off just a little bit of them, not too much because the episode would go on very long. This is the progression area right here, but we need a key. Spiderwebs yet again slowing us down. And we're still wearing the Warrior of the West armor. That is the armor of Tachibana Muneshige. I really need to use the Kusarigama more. I haven't showed it off properly in the LP yet. I should probably just do an episode using only the Kusarigama. Maybe a submission. The little spiders are kind of frustrating to hit. They're so low to the ground, even in low stance it can be hard to hit them. The dual swords are pretty good at hitting them. Sometimes the Kusarigama as well, for its many vertical strikes that it has. The axe, you usually have to wait for the second or even third strike to hit them. With the sword, I like to guard and then use the guarding attack, because it does a vertical chop downwards. And thankfully the little spiders aren't really dangerous. They hit for almost nothing and get usually killed in one hit. To my understanding, the spiders in this game are weak to wind. I'm not 100% on that though. But that's why I've brought in the Wind Guardian Spirit for dealing with the larger spiders, because they can be frustrating. They hit pretty hard and have a grapple attack that will often just kill you outright. When using your Guardian Spirit, though, for your living weapon, you can still get slowed and grappled. So keep an eye out for that. See what I mean? They're just so hard to hit. After you defeat the spiders, you're allowed to use the door that they guard to progress. But before progression, we're going to go down a side route. Very close to dying there. I never noticed before that these guys are covered in a belt of skulls. Oh, so as you saw there when I entered this room, I couldn't remember if there was a spider in here, so I checked the ceiling. I'm going to be checking the ceilings of areas often because those spiders are very deadly when they're on the ceiling. I would say the side area is not really worth it. I don't really know why I did it myself. I just do it every time I do this level. Here's where you get to see the spiders really clinging to the ceilings. You can shoot them down. You can also use rocks and throw them at them to knock them down. I believe you can also run through and they'll drop down, but be very careful with your speed because they can just drop down in the middle of that and get you, and you will probably be dead. The kick is really good against the skeletons because they have a low amount of ki, so you can just get a critical hit in on them. I felt like I was saying, see an enemy right there. So fighting this Revenant was a poor choice on my behalf. They were a bit tougher than I expected them to be. And I got my guard broken. Because I find fighting Revenants kind of frustrating, I just decide to not go through and fight them again. But I do still want the treasure. Then, not learning from my lesson, I summon another Revenant. A lot of the Revenants have goofy names that'll be jokes. Like there are ones that are called like the Sweaty, or the one we fought earlier was the Lady Transporter, which I don't know if that means that they transported ladies, or if they were a lady that transported things. Like, all I can think of is a female version of Jason Statham. So prepare to see what happens when I get distracted while recording. Because right about now somebody walked in and started talking to me. I think this is the most deaths I've shown off in an episode yet. Later on, as we get to the tougher bosses, there will be a lot of deaths. In fact, the next episode should have a boss that I really struggle against. Oh yeah, something I forgot to bring up about Matsunaga Hisahide. When he blew himself up, he did so with his assorted teapots, his teacups, because he wanted to deny them to his enemies, rather than allowing them to become treasure. Another one of these ninja-style yokai. They can be very dangerous because of their flurries. When you're a low health build, though, I still think the axe ones are much more dangerous because they can just hit you and kill you in one go. And it's time to enjoy a nice hot spring. What the hot spring does is it gives you full health, and it gives you an effect that heals you over time. If you've been reading, or if you understand Japanese and have been listening in, a lot of the dead bodies here, when you take items off of them for Emrita, talk about events that happened with Matsunaga Hisahide. Here's another little secret area. You can drop down here. It's supposed to be meant as a bit of a trap to get you stuck down here. This area is highly, highly dangerous. There's spiders all over on the ceilings. There is a wandering, I believe it was an axe yokai. And then there's one of those greater spiders here as well. I mean, they were not lying when they said there were spiders in this castle. When they're on the walls, you can approach them safely. They'll just drop down without landing on you. I ended up in very dire straits against this greater spider. The most dangerous part of those little ones is that they can keep slowing you down while the bigger ones try to kill you. They use this rock to my advantage to help block off the greater one. When you hit the spiders from behind, they're in a weakened state. Oh, I guess it was not an axe yokai, it was just a sword yokai. Now there's a long path to get out of here. I prefer to just use a travel amulet. Now I'm leveling up a little bit of skill so that I can wear certain armors. I probably should have cut this out right here, because this is just me going over the different armor sets and what I want to wear. I was trying to stick with medium armor so that I would have a decent balance of defense and having ki. Also, this is me going the completely wrong way. But yeah, lighter armor allows you to regenerate ki more easily and use it up less. Heavy armor makes you use up more ki and makes it regenerate slower, but also makes you lose less ki on getting hit. Now I could fight all of these things over again, or I could just sprint through. Up here is the correct door. Now we'll be going along another side path. This one's a bit precarious, just because it's easy to fall off while fighting the enemies here. Like right there, I almost fell off. Well, like in Dark Souls, the falling kind of sucks in this game. It doesn't really feel good. It often doesn't feel like you made a mistake. It just feels like, oh, my character moved in a way that wasn't expected and I fucking fell off. Or I had to end up fighting something on some very narrow bridge, so I fell off. Now, that quote is from Matsunaga Hisahide himself, about denying Oda Nobunaga the trophy. Now, there is one more little path down the side that I can go to get the final fragment, and for some reason I did not get it. Not because of the game screwing me over. I just looked at it and went, eh, and went on. For some reason. I don't know why. It was just barely out of the way, and I had already gotten the other ones. Another wheel monk. I hate this enemy so much. It's so easy for it to kill you. You're going to see me bring that up every single time that we see a wheel monk, that I hate wheel monks. Here is the side path that has the final fragment and final greater spider. And just in case you thought, I haven't seen spiders in the ceiling in a little while. Oh, they remembered. They were hoping you did not. Dealing with more of these pesky little spiders. If you can, I would advise drawing this guy out. You don't want to fight him in this enclosed space. You can, as you see here, but it's a bit dangerous. I have no idea how to get to that Kodama. I should probably look it up someday. But we're on our way to fighting the boss. Guess what? The boss is a big spider thing. Who would have thought? So the boss is a giant, big, sexy spider lady. Sexy in quotation marks. Although, don't kink shame. This is the Jorogumo. This is a creature from Japanese myth. Seen as a sort of... a type of creature you see in a lot of things. It's a seductive sort of spider. They're known as golden orb weavers that grow in age, and they start out small, but as they get older and older, by the time they're 400 years old, they gain magic powers and start to feed on humans, especially men. The name, unfortunately, also means four spider, which they apparently don't like to let people know because of, again, it's an unpleasant thing to say. She's not very much of a tough fight. She has swipes that you can dodge fairly easily that I screwed up in dodging. When she's in this form, she has extra defense on her legs. They're harder to hit. If you want to hit her main body, her upper body, when you see her legs start to twirl around, back off. If you hit her from behind while she's in the normal form, she'll basically turtle up into that defensive mode. She has a grapple with black and white fire that shows it off. She'll shoot spray and webs everywhere, and they slow you down, and the boss died before I could get in every word. Her legs are shielded, but you can break them off.
Who are you?
ほう、とつくに人よ。主も見える口か。平雲の茶釜、久方ぶりよ。一服立てて死んぜよ。茶もわからぬか。まあよい。お主に興が湧いたわ。この茶室好きに使うがよい。主君をあやめ、将軍をあやめ、大仏を焼き、山岳を成したと信長に言わしめたこのわしが主ごときに見えると思うたか。 わしのことは男女とでも呼ぶがよい。
Now, he asks you to refer to him as Danjo. We'll be seeing later on in submissions that he offers us. That is Matsunaga Hisahide. Somehow he is alive here and in Nioh. He outlived Oda Nobunaga, apparently. But what he does offer us is a new feature. You may have seen it when I went to the shrine or the starting point from the map before. It's called the Hidden Tea House. Now, it unlocks for all of your other playthroughs if you unlock it on one, so that's why you've seen it before I would have normally had it. The Hidden Tea House is for all your multiplayer needs, really. It's about what clans you can join, trading for items with your glory or honor points. You can sit here and talk to Matsunaga Hisahide, or Danjo as he likes to be called. You can get rewards for the faction wars that are going on, that are between basically the Tokugawa and Ishida. As far as I can tell, the Tokugawa win all the time. So it's better to join them. You can also read up on the different clans and join specific clans for specific bonuses. You can purchase the ability to transform into other characters. I wish Tachibana Ginshio wasn't so expensive because I would want to transform into her the most. Well, that's probably why she is so expensive. But that was episode 8 of Nioh. I will see you next time in a much more chilling environment.